Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new day of Road to TCG Worlds 2017. Now first off, you just saw the image. TCG Castle is doing the 1400 bulk for a booster box of the new set promotion. So if you want to find out more about that, trade in your bulk, definitely go check them out at tcgcastle.com. The link is right over there, or rather the how you spell it out is right over there. And yeah, so today we are featuring Umbreon-GX Wobbuffet. This list I used to go undefeated at a League Cup this past Saturday. That's why I'm almost at 700 championship points. We are almost at 700 championship points, and we can still increase that with another League Cup, although we'd have to reach the final to get more points, because we have a top 4 and a first place. Now, having said that, why Umbreon? I chose Umbreon, and I also go into a much more detailed report on the deck and the card choices over at 6prices.com. So I'll have an article going up there. Should be on the 14th. You guys are watching this on the 13th, Wednesday. Yeah. So tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, if I can count the days, actually I can't, it should be up on Friday the 14th. A full detailed report on how I did. But anyways, I chose Umbreon because after Australia, everybody associated me with the Decidueye Vileplume deck, and I had used Decidueye Vileplume for the past 2 tournaments down here, so a lot of people were teching against that. They were putting in Wobbuffet in their decks, like high counts of Wobbuffet. They were playing high counts of Hex Maniac as well, and I didn't want to deal with that. I could still win those matches, but it was just so much harder, so I decided to play the counter to the counters, if you will, in order to surprise them with like an unexpected deck. Nobody has played Umbreon-GX so far here, and I figured the Vaporeon and the Jolteon, which do turn Umbreon into water type or into lightning type respectively, would be a really nice surprise. So it would help me deal with the Volcanions that we were seeing here. It would help me deal with the Eeveelutions that we were seeing here. It also makes Shaymin a much easier knockout. You deal with Mega Ray as well, or it helps against Mega Ray too, but there's no Mega Ray down here in Mexico, at least not in Mexico City. So I had good answers into the 2 most popular decks with that, and I also had the one Mewtwo from Eeveelutions to counter the Mega Mewtwo's being played, which are very popular as well, and I had the 2 Wobbuffet in order to combine with the Attack Strafe by Umbreon and the Energy Denial, so that I could have a solid counter to opposing the Decidueye Vileplume decks, which I was also seeing down here. So I had an answer to pretty much every single deck I expected. I could have played a Flareon as well, but I did not expect, I didn't think I needed it to combat the Decidueye, and I also didn't think there would be any like Lurantis or Solgaleo or anything like that. I did face one in round 3 and I still won, and Flareon would have definitely made that matchup a lot easier, but out of 32 people there was only a single one. So I didn't think it was justified to include it. I didn't know that guy was playing it, and I had no idea I was gonna face it off in round 3, but it did not end up mattering. Now, aside from that, the other peculiar choice here is the one Shaymin-EX and one Oranguru split. Oranguru is really nice because sometimes you just want to Delinquent or Team Flare Grunt or even Kukui instead of using like the bigger supporter cards, and therefore Oranguru gives you that extra wiggle room to still find resources whilst using other kinds of supporters. It's also a really good anti-end measure, and Garbodor seems to be on the decline, so Oranguru is always active in the late game, makes your deck end proof, And it's also a really good attacker. Oranguru ended up attacking and ended up taking a few prizes over the tournament, so that was really nice to have that non-EX attacker, which is kind of like Mewtwo but a little bit more powerful. Doesn't hit for weakness, but it did its job. And yeah, huge props to the list goes to Russell Lapar from someone's PC. It's pretty much his 60 cards. It might be 59, I'm not entirely sure. Probably 59 off of the list he used. No, actually it's 58 because he had one Flareon and he didn't have Mewtwo. But yeah, I mean, the deck worked exactly as I intended it to. It surprised my opponents. Everybody, or pretty much every round, my opponent had to read the Assault Vest to see what it did because they didn't remember it. I don't think anyone down here has played Assault Vest before. The Team Flare Grunts, the Delinquent definitely caught people off guard, and the overall consistency of the deck was pretty nice. The energy evolution from Eevee was really crucial, and I did have a few games where I priced an Eevee and I suffered more than I should have, but overall I did not lose a single game over the weekend. I mean, over on the tournaments. So the deck worked perfectly. Now let me showcase you the deck, how it works and everything, or rather how it performs in action. I do think it performs better than it looks. Like, when you take a look at the deck list, it kind of seems underwhelming in the sense that your maximum damage output is 90 and things have like over 200 HP now, so you're gonna be three-shotting a lot of things. But if you place your damage correctly off of Shadow Bullet, if you time your Darkhold-GX correctly, Umbreon can be really overwhelming and really hard for your opponents to deal with. Not exactly the hand we want to see, honestly. We'll see what my opponent is running. Okay, Glacian, yikes. Okay, so I'm gonna use Energy Evolution, but just to check my deck, I'm not gonna grab the Umbreon because I have the Umbreon in my hand. Darkhold-GX might be really crucial here. One Darkness is priced. One Stadium is priced. Two Ultra Ball. Yep, two Ultra Ball are priced. One Trainer's Mail. And one Jolteon. Okay, those are our 6 prices. Nothing too big. And I kind of want to use Shaymin, but I also kind of don't. So I'm just gonna pass. I shouldn't be threatened by anything off of my opponent. This will probably be a water toolbox deck. We do see a Fighting Fury Belt, we do see a Manaphy, we do see a Rough Seas, and we see a Sycamore immediately. We do see Energy Switch, so there is a potential for an immediate knockout, I guess. Rough Seas is going to be really annoying to deal with though. Really, really annoying. And that's going to save the Glacian from getting... Well, the Fighting Fury Belt saves it from getting 2-shot anyways, I guess. Trainer's Mail finds us a Parallel City, which is great, so that we can limit my opponent's damage output. Not really interested in limiting his bench just now. And here's the question: do I Shaymin or do I not Shaymin? Because off of Shaymin, I could draw Eevees, but I could also draw Umbreons, I could draw Energy, and I guess I will attach the Floodstone because my opponent probably doesn't run DC. I'm just gonna Sycamore. I mean, our next 4 cards, just take a look at that. You Sycamore into 5 more supporters. That's just brutal. Okay, gonna play down. No, I'm not gonna play down the Mewtwo just yet. I'm just gonna Shadow Bullet into the Manaphy, because maybe I can KO the Manaphy later on. He has a Rough Seas. and he can deal 30 damage right now. I could use Rough Seas myself if I found... Well, I just discarded the Jolteon, but I do have Eevee, and I know the Super Rod is not priced. Like, I don't remember seeing it, but I know we figured out the 6 prices and it wasn't there, so that's good. And we do see a ton of item and trainer cards being played by my opponent. Ugh. He does have the Max Elixir Energy Switch combo, and that's gonna be disastrous for us. Absolutely disastrous. Okay, so I'm gonna bench the Mewtwo. I top deck yet another equivalent supporter card. And I'm going to try to find the DC. I'm gonna discard so many resources though, and I hate doing this, but just the order of the things I'm drawing. Okay, so I do find a DCE, but yeah, I discarded essentially 6 supporters, or even 7, this previous turn. So now I'm gonna really struggle. Hopefully the Mewtwo puts in the work here though. If I had a Lysander, I'd feel a lot more comfortable. 140 damage. Yeah. Gonna need to top deck a Kukui though. This is ridiculous. Okay. He's gonna choose to attack my Umbreon. Instead of the Mewtwo, which actually threatens him, goes for another Lapras and plays down a Shaymin. Yikes. Yeah. Lapras is not a good matchup for this deck. It's definitely not a good matchup. Because of so much HP, because of many things. A lot of HP, you can't hit them for weakness. Lapras can paralyze you, etc, etc, etc. I mean, next turn, like best case scenario, I can remove all of the energy off of the Glacian, but that's not gonna do too much. If I had the Kukui, I could knock out the Glacian, but I don't. I actually don't. So I'm wondering what's my best play here. The issue is the Rough Seas. That's the biggest issue. That's definitely the biggest issue, but I have no better play. I don't think I have a better play. Okay, so we strip Glacian of its energy. Essentially, my opponent shouldn't be able to attach and retreat this turn. But of course he plays Escape Rope in a free retreat deck. Man. Well, there's the energy. Oh, okay. I thought he was gonna Lysander knock me out or something, but I wonder if he uses his GX attack here. I don't think so. If we had the Kukui the previous turn, if we had a Lysander perhaps, all of those things. But we had to Sycamore into useless cards. If instead of all the supporters we had drawn the Assault Vests, and I discarded the Assault Vests and draw into supporters, we'd be looking at a very different game right now, honestly. A very different game. And we know We know that at least Oranguru is available, so that's good. I would love to have a Vaporeon here, so that I could heal off. I'm gonna attach the float stone there. I'm actually gonna attach the energy to Oranguru, because Oranguru could potentially attack as well. And we get 3 cards. We do get the Delinquent, which is nice. We find an Eevee, so we can potentially I don't know what. I mean, 4 energy for my opponent. There's 3 in the discard pile. He must have at least 12, so he can just retreat and second bite me. I'm gonna leave the Glacian at 110, so maybe if I'm able to find a Verseeker plus the DCE next turn. Never mind. Never mind. Yeah, he just retreats and needs a second bite for the knockout. It's 5 energy and 3 in the discard pile, out of a possible 10 to 12. We top deck a Sycamore. I'm not gonna attach the darkness. I do find the DCE, but my opponent can just retreat and use the Ice Beam GX attack. But I really don't have a better option here. $170 goes down to 140. Lapras is almost completely healed off. Yeah, this is not good. I think my best play here is to try and trap the Articuno and deck my opponent out. He's gonna use the GX attack, yeah. Okay, so I really need to find a Wobbuffet. The second Wobbuffet. I really need that. Gonna attach an energy. I know there's no Umbreon in there. There is the Wobbuffet though. I wish I could get rid of a lot of these cards. But anyways, I'll just end here. Oh yeah, there were 2 Ultra Balls priced, right? Okay. I'm not going to play the Ultra Ball yet, so that I don't showcase my plan here. Well, my opponent has only played 1 Lysander and 1 Verseeker, so that's his whole deck actually. Never mind. And there's 9 energy total. So I generally don't think this plan is going to work, but it might. Depends on how many energy my opponent runs. If he runs 10, well, and there's another energy, that's good. So now I Lysander off the Lapras. That's the 10th energy. Does my opponent have an 11th energy? Does my opponent have an 11th energy here? I hope not. I really, really hope not. Oh, and we are at a bigger risk of decking out. Whoops. Whoopsies. Well, we do have the Super Rod still, so never mind. Okay, let's see if this works. There's 10 energy, 7 on the field, 3 in the discard pile. My opponent does have Lysander and Verseekers available to him. There's a Lysander and there's the energy. So yeah, it was a last resort play. I had to go for it. Maybe he ran 11 energy and it would have been priced. I have no idea. Oh well. I mean, even the Wobbuffet wasn't even necessary. I guess, well, I guess it would have been better to... No, there was I couldn't do anything. Lapras is a bad matchup for this deck. It's a very annoying matchup to deal with. I feel like the normal Lapras GX deck might not be as bad, but anything with Glacian just becomes pretty much impossible. And now we see either Turbo Dark, which is another not so great matchup, or Yveltal Garb, which is a pretty good matchup for the deck. Definitely a pretty good matchup when compared to the other decks. So yeah, we don't get a great hand, but we do have the Ultra Ball into Shaymin. We also don't need Vaporeon at all, and it is Yveltal, so that's pretty good. It is Yveltal, so that's pretty good. Jolteon's gonna be great here. We do see a Professor Kukui. Him going first means we have to Energy Evolution here. Unless he doesn't attach to the active Yveltal. Well, and he doesn't. Okay. That works. That works. Kukui as my opponent's only supporter. That's good to know. We see a Float Stone which will not work on his active, and he chooses not to play it. Okay. So versus Seeker. I mean, I kind of don't want to go for the Umbreon, but I feel like I should. I might just draw a pass. Well, no, yeah, I have to go for this. Should have checked if I had the Super Rod. I'll check with the Ultra Ball. Let's see. I definitely grab Shaymin here. Okay, so what's priced? No Jolteon, no Eevee, no Umbreon, no Pokemon are priced. One Level Ball is priced. The Super Rod is there. One Ultra is priced. One Parallel is priced. One Sycamore is priced. And 2 DC are priced. Awesome. That is just great. Okay. So drawing into an Eevee and an N or something like that would be cool. We don't get the Eevee, we do get the N. Trainer's Mail into an Ultra Ball. Okay. So I can go for the Eevee. And that's just either to get a second Umbreon or to just immediately find the Jolteon. Not a huge fan of using this N, but I feel like it's okay. We find another Berserker at least, and we can bench the Eevee, and now we use Strafe and we do not switch. I feel like a lot of people don't know that you can choose not to switch. People just immediately switch out, and that would cause problems to me right now. Unless I find the Jolteon to free retreats, but I also don't want to lose an Eevee, and I don't want to leave Shaymin up there, so. If my opponent doesn't, okay, well that changes things, I guess. That does change things. Huh. Shaymin? Would I rather sacrifice a Shaymin here? Well, I'm not sacrificing essentially. I can find a TCE or a Float Stone to prevent a knockout. We do see a TCE, so we might see a White Cyclone here. But I could also then Team Flare Grunt the energy away. So we'll see. He does go for the White Cyclone. The energy will probably be transferred to the other Yveltal EX, would be my choice. But he's gonna be very tempted. Okay, no, he does go for the Yveltal EX. That makes sense. Okay, so I could Delinquent here. Well, I don't think that's the best play. Gonna evolve one of the Eevees. I guess I will play the stadium. I mean, there's a lot of good plays here. I could Team Flare Grunt, I could Delinquent. A lot of good plays here. I could just give up on the Shaymin. I feel like giving up on the Shaymin. I'm gonna remove the energy. And I'm gonna pass. Yeah, I think I can sacrifice to Shaymin-EX. My opponent doesn't have like a super threatening board position. He does attach to the active and passes, so that's good. Okay, let's see the trainer's mail. It does find us a floatstone. That's absolutely perfect. That is actually really perfect. And now either I end, although my opponent doesn't have too much going for him. I don't have any other supporter available. Well, I do have Team Flare Grunt, but dealing 30 damage doesn't really help me too much here. So I'm gonna go for the end, hoping to hit the DCE plus a way to find the Jolteon. I do find a DCE and I find an Oranguru. I won't be able to thin out my hand, but I could potentially get a knockout here. Wow, I will get a knockout. That is so great. Okay, pretty good end, pretty lucky end, I would say. Definitely a very lucky end. And yeah, there's a Jolteon. My opponent's mouse probably dropped this instance. And yeah, oops, instruct for 2 more cards. And wow, perfect. Another Eevee. And we get to one-shot this poor Eeveelutions EX. I could Dark Call. Is that a better play? Is using Dark Call here a better play? Maybe. But I'm still gonna Shadow Bullet. I mean, there's an argument for it, but I mean, if my opponent wants to deal significant damage, he has to Evil Ball, and if he doesn't, he's sure he conserves energy, but we're still good there. I have a DC in my hand, and there you go. He immediately promotes the other Eeveelutions. So now finding a Lysander is gonna be our priority. And I'm not sure if I want to keep the DC in my hand or not. I probably do, just so that I don't get trapped by the Baby Volcanion. I mean, Baby Volcanion, by the Fright Night Eeveelutions, I'm sorry. Wow. But yeah, as you can see, this is a really good matchup. This is a matchup I actually faced off in the final of the League Cup, and I won 2-0. Wow, my opponent just goes all out with that DCE. Evil Ball would do 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19 Fighting Fury Belt or a Kukui, and he would actually one-shot me. But he needs a Max Elixir and a Kukui. And a Max Elixir to hit. But that Eeveelutions is definitely very scary now. Very scary. My opponent does Lysander up my Oranguru, trying to buy himself a turn. The Assault Vest is great here. And now let's see. Should I try to find a Floatstone? Or should I just attach and retreat? I think that's better. I actually think that's better. But I will, however, try to find a Lysander here. I will grab the Umbreon to evolve my Eevee. 3 Verse Seekers used up already. And 3 Trainer's Mail. So we rely on these 3 cards. Can we hit? We do. Wow. That's gonna be game. I'm drawing so well. So well. We haven't played a single Sycamore, but you can see how Oranguru is just putting in the work. I feel like even if I had not hit the Lysander, I would have used Dark Hole GX to just outright remove those 2 DCs. We do get the other TC out of the prize cards and the level ball. But yeah, my opponent has absolutely no chance here. Absolutely no chance. He doesn't even Lysander up anything. So sure, we probably won't find a Lysander this turn, but that's okay. That is definitely okay. There's no reason for me to even like attach the DC, because what I want is to prevent a Lysander into a stalling play. Although having two Umbreon-GX powered up does mean that I immediately win the game after I KO this Yveltal and deal 30 damage to the Yveltal EX, because that way nothing survives a Shadow Bullet. Yeah, so not attaching the energy is playing way too safe. I'm just gonna burn the level ball and take a knockout here. I could Dark Call, but there's no need. I just place the 30 damage there so that in the event that my opponent does find a Fighting Fury Belt, I can just remove it, or rather not remove it, I can still KO the Yveltal, and I am end proof with the Oranguru, so we really should be good here. There's no humanly possible way that my opponent can't beat us. And with the Assault Vest, I don't even think he can knock us out this turn, because with another Darkness he deals 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 damage, so he'll be 30 short. He would have needed a Kukui plus a Fighting Fury Belt. Doesn't seem like he does have that. There's a Fighting Fury Belt but no Kukui, so he won't be KOing us anytime soon. There's the energy, but missing the Kukui. So we're gonna be 20 short of the knockout. He goes for the Evil Ball, 150, and that's game. That is game. So yeah, pretty good matchup for us. Jolteon just makes it so much easier. Without the Jolteon, it's still very winnable. And in the final game, like in the finals of the League Cup, I didn't use Jolteon in game 1. In part because I didn't need it, in part because an Eevee was prized, and so I needed all 3 Umbreon-GX during the game. But also, like, there was very... It came down to, I didn't need to reveal the Jolteon for me to win. Like, I noticed like Jolteon, getting a Jolteon on game 1 would just mean that I won the game a lot easier. But I was still going to win, so I preferred to save the Jolteon as a surprise for game 2, and then game 2 my opponent didn't even take a single prize card. So yeah, try out the deck. It's like a budget deck, I would say, because it only has one Shaymin, has the Oranguru, you could even play without the Mewtwo. Umbreons are not very expensive, at least not the regular arts. So yeah, it's a viable deck for sure, especially for local metagames. I don't know how good it would be for like a 500-person regional, but if your local metagame is Mewtwo, Decidueye, Volcanion, and Yveltal, like mostly, then you're good to go. Has an okay Turbo Dark matchup, though it can struggle a little bit. Has a bad Lapras matchup though, definitely has a bad Lapras matchup. But yeah, that's gonna be it from me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow for some expanded action, Lurantis Valplum, and then on Friday we get to see Dugtrio in action. And yeah, that's gonna wrap up the week. So thank you guys so much. I will see you tomorrow for more TCG action, and don't forget to leave a like if you can. It really helps out the channel. I will mention the adblock thing once again. If you don't want to turn off adblock, it'd be great if you considered joining Patreon, like for $1 or $2 per month. It's a lot more than YouTube pays to content creators per person, and it makes a huge difference. And that's if you're not using adblock. If you are using adblock, then I get 0 for your views. But anyways, thank you guys so much for considering it. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.